guys, we are back for another Dokkan battle video. Today we're going to continue the series I do when a new 200% lead comes out, where we no item the entire red zone. So here we're starting out on the movie side of things. Pan is a very dominant character, so many of these runs were very easy and went by in one try, right? Including the beginning. This Turles fight is just, you know, a joke. It doesn't matter that Turles' strongest phase is type disadvantage for Pan. Turles is just not a boss strong enough to compete with a character designed to destroy Broly, right, who is the hardest fight in the game. So Turles just goes down pretty easily. Literally, this fight is just about bringing our strongest characters in and demolishing Turles with our strongest characters, right? Like, I don't know that there's really any strategy to talk about here. It's just, again, we go in and we obliterate Turles with our toughest units. So let's go ahead and skip to the next fight. Alright guys, now we're fighting Lord Slug. Again, just the same way Turles doesn't really put up much of a fight at all, Lord Slug does not also really have what it takes to put up a fight. Especially because the two like typings, the phases that Lord Slug is, physical and STR, just allows us to bring some of our best characters, LRUI Goku, the AGL GT Super Saiyan 2 Goku, who you guys will see on a lot of these runs, you know, the Goku/Gohan unit, LR Kaioken Goku. We're able to utilize a lot of these characters to very good effect in here, and then just really, really dominate a lot of these fights. This team, you know, is definitely strong enough. By the way, this Goku and Gohan unit right here, they are very solid for these red zone fights. I saw a lot of people talk very negatively about that character a lot, and it's just, I feel like those people just haven't really used this character, don't know, I don't know. But this Goku and Gohan unit, they are able to help out a lot in many of the toughest portions of a lot of these red zone fights, right? That exchange into Gohan is very powerful. Outside of the Broly and Android 13 fights, Super Saiyan Goku can be very, very effective as well. With that 50% chance to dodge after super attacks can be very, very strong. But not really too much to talk about here with Slug, right? Because the way Pan works, where she builds up and then she could use that powerful active skill, like these low-level bosses are just really not able to put up a fight to her. It's not really until even the Bojack fight where there's any sort of test in this challenge with the Pan team, pretty much at all, right? Alright, so now we're moving on to the Cooler fight. Cooler can definitely be tough, right? And if Pan has a weakness, right? Pan is not like a perfect character, right? An unstoppable behemoth in every single way or something like that. Pan can take a lot of damage. She super attacks, and then she loses her damage reduction, and if the enemy attacks her a lot after she supers, she can take a lot of damage. This Cooler, the physical final form Cooler at the end right here, is really sort of the first enemy in here that I think can really damage her hard. Because, you know, this cooler, considering this is only fight 3 of 7 fights in this side of the red zone, this cooler does hit pretty hard, I would say. But Pan just does, I think, too much damage. In these fights, we're able to use, you know, like these GT Goku units to allow Pan to not only greatly stack, but then also potentially triple super. And then, of course, use her monster active skill, which, you know, typically when we get the active skill off, that usually means we've beaten whatever phase we're fighting. The only boss, really, that, like, was eating Pan's active skill for me was Janemba, right? Because Janemba is just, like, a 2-phase fight, and then he just, like, you know, that second health bar of Janemba's is a lot. And it's not that deep into the fight, right? Like, by the time you get to AGL Broly in his fight, you know, that's 4 phases deep, whereas Janemba's only the second phase. So the thing about that is, you know, he's got the 1 big health bar, and it's still early on in the fight where Pan has not built up to infinity, right? Because remember, the thing about Pan is every attack stack that she does dramatically increases the damage of her active skill super attack. So the longer we wait before we use that active skill super, the bigger chance Pan just drops the hammer and one-shots whatever it is that we're going against, right? Now, Cooler, again, not really too much to worry about. You know, we're using a lot, like, pretty much we're just running out the same lineup for these first several fights, right? Pan, the Goku and Gohan unit, LR Kaioken Goku, LR UI Goku, of course, I've talked about many times, is really good in a lot of these fights outside of Broly and Android 13, where he cannot dodge. Any other fight, though, AGL UI Goku is really good still. He's a very, very powerful character. And then that AGL Super Saiyan 2 GT Goku you see right there, he is able to work really well. I think a lot of these Red Zone bosses could nearly one-shot him. He does stack, but it's not fast enough to where, like, he's eating, you know, AGL Broly super attacks. But oftentimes, this AGL Super Saiyan 2 Goku here is not taking damage from normal attacks from a lot of these bosses, which is very helpful, right? So it's just a matter of, like, hopefully the super attacks are aimed, you know, at Pan. Pan ate that pretty well. That was one of the problem super attacks for Pan, right? A super after she supered. But by now, her passive, I believe, was fully built up right there. Remember, she gets another 50% when she attacks. Also, keep in mind that EGL GT Goku does link fairly well with Pan. Saiyan lineage, all in the family, and GT, all 3 links giving defense. So it helps allow Pan to run at basically full power. Alright, now we're moving on to the Android 13 fight. Now, Android 13 is not really tough, I would say. I went ahead and just rocked the same lineup for the Android 13 fight that we used for Broly, because I feel like this lineup can be very effective against the powerful AGL bosses. So here we cycle in the Tech Kale and Caulifla. You guys should know all about this unit by now. They start off very pathetic. At Kale and Caulifla's first turn, and a lot of times their second turn, is just very unimpressive. But, you know, the longer the fight goes on, they become a real force to be reckoned with. And then they also have that turn 6 fusion, which gives you a massive heal. So Kale and Caulifla can be very effective in some of these really tough fights. And then here, I decided... So this actually works well, right? Many people think, you know, you'll always see this about Captain Ginyu. People will say that Ginyu is only good on one team, right? Ginyu, Raccoon, and Goldo, these characters. I mean, I feel like this video kind of proves that is bullshit. Because it's very easy. You know, this works in this fight and it works against Broly, where I just bring Raccoon and Goldo and Ginyu. We run them on rotation. I feel particularly comfortable being able to do this too. Pan basically needs to be in slot 1, right? Like, you want to run Pan in slot 1. She needs to be in slot 1. But considering in this fight, after we get through the first phase, it's an AGL boss anyway, I think that the friend Pan will be fine as a floater. Because, again, she's going to have type advantage anyway. So that will allow Raccoon and Goldo and Ginyu to just sit comfortably on rotation, right? So it's like, it works really well. Having just these two Ginyu Force units next to each other can be very, very impressive on this team, right? Because remember, Pan's leader skill is Bond of Friendship and then Dragon Ball Seekers. And all the Ginyu Force members are on the Dragon Ball Seekers category. So there we go. From this point on, it's really pretty simple. We just destroy Android 13. Pan just does so much freaking damage. You know, Ginyu, even at this point, if Ginyu is going to get hit with a super attack from 13, it's not going to be enough to kill us in one shot. Then, you know, we have Tech, Kale, and Caulifla now at this point. If we would take a lot of damage, we'd be able to fuse into Kefla, right? So we're just looking good from this point. The Ginyu Force units are not just locked to their team. Don't think that's stupid shit, man. They can be good, right? Like, Raccoon and Goldo are very powerful. Ginyu is very powerful. These characters are very good, man. Do not sleep on them. So, alright. Android 13, pretty easy fight, though. Especially considering the leader and our friend lead both has type advantage against AGL 13. Alright guys, now we're moving on to one of the hardest fights in the game for sure. We're fighting Bojack. Now, I believe it only took me one try to take down Bojack. I'm pretty sure this was just one attempt. Now, this is the first time, if you guys notice, I'm using Trunks and Giru. Trunks and Giru to me are a little bit disappointing, right? Like, if we're gonna make comparisons between Trunks, or between Pan and then DOKKANFEST Captain Ginyu, Pan is just not in a great spot compared to Ginyu, because, you know, Ginyu got the two banner units who are damn near the two best banner units in the game, and Berta and Jason, Raccoon and Goldo, right? Whereas Trunks and Giru is a strong character, but that unit is just not really good enough defensively in these red zone stages, right? So it's like, if this unit is going to take too many attacks, we're in a lot of trouble. Now, I brought them here in the Bojack fight, because remember, Bojack's final phase is tech. So this is a great fight to bring strong int characters in here, right? Which is why I am usually bringing Namek Goku to this fight if I could bring him. This is probably like the best fight for Namek Goku in the game to like perform really well against that tech Bojack at the end. Namek Goku can get embarrassed by, you know, Bojack's minions here, and then of course int Bojack, it's really hard. But I love bringing Namek Goku to this fight, and then also against Rildo as well, right? The Rildo fight is another one where the last phase is a locking boss that is tech type, right? But yeah, so this Bojack fight, we know the format by now, right? His minions here can really hold us down for a while. The good news is that if we're able to move slow through these guys, it really strongly benefits this team so much. Because look at the team. Pan stacks attack, right? The more she stacks attack, the more damage she'll be able to do at the end, potentially even being able to maybe one-shot tech Bojack, right? She could super attack and then maybe get some really crazy damage in on Bojack. Kale and Caulifla, again, they start out pathetic, but the longer the fight goes on, they get better and better. Same thing with Namek Goku. Namek Goku is ass turn 1, but, you know, and he always goddamn single supers, too. But if Namek Goku is, you know, capable of getting, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 supers, you know, he's going to be looking really good as the fight goes on. And then the GT Super Saiyan 2 Goku is also stacking. The only character on the team who's not stacking is Trunks and Giru, and then the EZA Tech God Goku. Those are the only two, right? So, again, hopefully we're not critting, we're not doing too much damage, and we can just sort of slowly move through this fight, and then really stack up a lot before we get to Bojack, and that's what we're able to do. Again, I believe Bojack only took one try. For all these no-item runs, Bojack was not bad with this team. I think Vegeta and Trunks might have been one try or two tries or something like that. I mean, but that's the Vegeta and Trunks team is different. That's just like the best unit in the game by far and the best team by far, right? Like, not really fair. And then there's also EGL Cell's team. Surprisingly, despite the fact that EGL Cell is, you know, type disadvantage against Bojack, I believe I was able to get that done in one try. That might just have been incredible luck, though. I think it's very possible, just by how difficult this Bojack fight has honestly been, and a lot of the runs I've done, a lot of the attempts I've made, right? But, like, look how good this run is. We're on turn 6, still fighting his minions. This is why we win, right? Like, if we had, like, you know, had turns where, like, Namek Goku, like, triple super, triple critted the first turn and wiped out, like, you know, 2 of Bojack's minions, and the Pans did that and stuff like that, you know, we probably don't win. Because we go through rather slow at the start right here, these characters are able to build up, so that by the time we get to Bojack, we can actually begin to take these hits, right? And then we're able to do very good. So, yeah, wow, we don't get to Bojack until turn 8. Do I transform here? If not, I would because it's, yeah, see, I'm looking at this and it's like, all right, we're about to go into Bojack next turn. I probably should transform here. I definitely would next turn if I don't hear, because next turn is looking pretty good. We got God Goku and Pan and the GT Goku. The only thing, though, is that Bojack will do damage to Pan if he supers her before she attacks. Like even when she has her damage reduction up, Bojack hits so hard he's gonna hurt Pan, right? So yeah, it really is, I think, a good call to transform with Kefla right there and get the heal. because chances are very likely that Bojack will do a lot of damage to us even through our tanky characters, right? The one good thing about Trunks and Giru too, by the way, is that because they're creating so many int-type orbs, it does allow for a nice amount of healing, right? That's why, imagine how much better that unit would be if you take away more of their damage and give them more defense and like their healing from all those int orbs. That Trunks and Giru unit could be even more ridiculous, right? Now that we make it to Bojack, it's just like praying that Bojack does not super attack basically most of our team. One thing about Pan's team is notice oftentimes we're running under 600k HP, which is just really not that good in these red zone fights. You really want to try and be above like 650k. That's why everyone loves running like these fusion LR teams, 200% teams. This cocksucker super is the third slot, but luckily we got Goku right there. But yeah, these full like fusion LR 200% teams oftentimes have got like 700k HP plus, right? Which just really buys you a lot of extra like survivability in these huge difficult fights right here. Yeah, this is a really scary turn right here because Namek Goku, I mean, Namek Goku's done what, 3 or 4 supers up to this point, like 4 super attacks or something. He was in slot 7, which hurt. But it's like he just needs so many supers, man. Right? Like when you're not wanking Namek Goku and you're just doing a natural run, it could get very scary with him. And Kefla too. Right, Kefla at this point, I would have liked to have stacked up with her a bit more before transforming, but I had to. Bojack's minions did too much damage to us. So I'm relying more on Kefla's dodge than anything, right? So she dodges that, eats 70k, and then dodges that, thank God, right? And then, you know, also good, this run was not one of the runs where I add to, like, Namek Goku getting supered for 600k in slot 3, thank God. But we're able to kind of make it through Bojack. We had some really decent luck. Yeah, just seeing where Bojack has been super attacking really shows me why we were able to get our W's here. Do I use Pan's I might use Pan's active skill right here. I'm looking at this turn. Where am I putting Trunks? I guess I could put Trunks and Giru in slot 2 and float off Goku. Yeah, I like this decision to use Pan's active skill right here. Let's just get this phase of Bojack out of the way. Yeah, this is a very scary turn. Because again, Trunks and Giru, I am very scared with them on rotation against Bojack. And that EGL Super Saiyan 2 Goku could take a lot. Oh my god, yeah. Pan is just able to drop a hammer with that active skill sometimes. We're able to make it through Bojack. Let's go on to the Janemba fight now. Alright guys, now we're moving on to the Janemba fight. Now, for whatever reason, I don't know, Janemba was the fight in here that actually gave me the most trouble. I think it's just maybe the typings of Janemba or whatever, but I was encountering a lot of issues with this Janemba fight. This was where I began to really think, like, damn, like, I think I do like Captain Ginyu better than Pan. Because it's like, this was the fight that showed me just how easy it is for Pan to get caught, right? Like, yeah, you know, the 50% damage reduction looks great. You know, oftentimes on paper, we can get her to some really good defensive stats. But it's like, dude, like, Pan can just get absolutely destroyed if the boss chooses to super her after she attacks. It could be just, like, very, very scary. So that's kind of like just a big fear of mine. I'm noticing a common theme throughout a lot of these winning runs in this video in particular is, look at this turn. Janemba is putting nearly every single attack in slot 3, and this is a turn I have God Goku, and I'm going to be floating him anyway. So this actually works out rather well for us, that I could just put God Goku in that 3rd slot, and he's probably going to get supered. Yeah, wow, okay. We have several God Goku getting super attacked in slot 3 moments in this video already. But remember that the phases we have to deal with Janemba, he goes from tech to int to physical. The other thing about Janemba that's a bit scary, that int phase, I mean, I've had him just absolutely wallop Pan out of here, right? He can just crush Pan. That int Janemba is very scary. So it really is, like, the winning run here was really about just making it through int Janemba quickly. And then, like, bringing this GT Goku, like, he could do damage, he can create orbs, but he is just so pitiful defensively. Bringing him probably was a mistake. That physical DOKKANFEST GT Kid Goku, you know, it's just like, his time is past, right? Like, yeah, he does good damage. Oh my god, there's not a million characters that do good damage, right? And it's like, this team, for the most part, like, we're not really struggling for ki too often, right? Especially if Pan is next to GT characters, oftentimes ki is not really an issue. Okay, so I believe there's 2 times in this video where I engage in Pan active skill shenanigans. I believe this is one of the times. So Pan's active skill has a 59% chance to crit. And once you do it, you get a 59% chance to crit for the turn. Now, there's different RNG with Pan's active skill based upon what the rotation looks like. So I could reset the app right here, and then we could put Pan in slot 3, do the active skill again, and then maybe this time it would crit. And then if that doesn't work, then we could reset it. We could put Pan in slot 1, and then maybe she will crit, right? You can also do this, by the way, with DOKKANFEST Captain Ginyu, where you could use his active skill in slot 1, see if the scouter pops up. Oh, you're not sure if it popped up. You could transform, you could reset, transform with Ginyu in slot 2, and then perhaps his scouter would pop up this time instead as well, right? So I'm doing this because I am very scared of this Janemba. By this run, I had already lost to Janemba, like, I don't know, 6 times or something like that. So it's just like, I just really wanted to try and build Janemba's Fury mode up as fast as possible and get him into the physical Janemba phase, man. I just did not want to play around, because even the active skill super attack, as you guys can see, does build up his Fury meter. Because, like, I could potentially wait, like, another turn or 2 before using the active skill with Pan and continuing to build up her damage before using it. But I felt like it was just in my best interest to attack Janemba as much as possible, build up his Fury meter as fast as possible, so we don't have Pan fighting a type disadvantage fight. So far in my experience, Pan fighting the type disadvantage fights have been very scary. Janemba, Omega Shenron are very terrifying with this Pan, because they just do a lot of damage even through her damage reduction, so it just creates a lot of issues. With a bunch of shenanigans and stuff, right? Like 80 resets right here to try and get that crit, but we do eventually make it through Janemba. We do enough damage. Janemba's super attacks are just in the right spots, right? It's just a matter of, like, the team is so just centered on Pan, right? It's like, as long as Pan is eating the super attacks before she attacks, and she's triple supering, and her active skill is doing insane damage, as long as, like, these types of things are happening often, Pan's team works very well. But, like, if the boss does a lot of damage to Pan, or they're not supering Pan, or something like that happens, then it's often not really as good, right? And then finally, since we couldn't get the crit, I just said, well, whatever, screw it. We'll just wait till next turn. But this is just so risky, right? Like, I just want to get through this int phase as fast. Look at the damage. Like, this int Janemba, I feel like, would wear us down way too fast. Like, we have got to get out of this phase. Luckily, God Goku gets super attacked in slot 3, right? That's the reason this is the winning run, by the way, is that Janemba super God Goku right there. So, alright, there is the Janemba fight. Alright guys, now we move on to the hardest fight in the game. This is the Broly fight. Now, the Broly fight is definitely tough, right? Definitely the hardest fight in the game. But the one thing about this Broly fight with Pan's team here is that Pan really is a character completely made. This is a misplay, by the way. I should have floated Pan off right there. I should have noticed that the other Pan was in slot 7, because we really want, like, pretty much a Pan on each rotation. I don't know. Maybe it's not a misplay, because we're going to have Ginyu and Rakumen Goldo man down one of our rotations anyway. Typically, though, you do want to make sure that the pans are, you know, correctly on the rotations, but maybe that was fine, because regardless, the Ginyu and then Recoome and Goldo didn't start out on the same rotation, so I'd have to get them on the same rotation either way, so I guess it doesn't really matter. Remember that depending upon how these fights go, too, Pan can very easily stun Broly, right? Remember, Pan has a 70% chance to stun Broly if she has GT Goku on rotation. Our opening rotations honestly ended up being pretty ass, though, so we weren't really able to take advantage of that. Kale and Khalifa, remember, start out really quite bad at the start. That was pure RNG, by the way, right there. Recoome and Goldo without Ginyu on rotation only had a 50% chance to guard. If they don't guard and then Broly supers right away, we're in trouble. But Recoome and Goldo, remember how busted they are. They're able to seal Broly right here, so we don't have to worry about Broly potentially super attacking us. So Kale and Khalifa aren't going to take too much damage, and then this GT Goku can sort of build up, right? The whole point of this is we want to slowly build up and make it through these fights. If we can make it to AGL Broly with this team, we probably win, because of Pan. Because Pan is built around her Juggernaut active skill, right? Where Pan will drop the active skill after stacking a lot of attack, right? Every time she super attacks, and she'll just able to do so much damage. It's interesting that this is the no item run. This is a pretty shitty opening, honestly. Like we could easily do runs here where you could stun Broly with Pan right away and almost keep him stun locked the entire opening rotation. But that's not what happened, and we actually took a lot of damage. Like, look at this. We're already on turn 4 here against this first phase of Broly. But at the same time, maybe that's one reason why we were able to make this the successful no-item run, right? A lot of times in these fights, like, if you could go through slower with characters like Kale and Khalifa and the AGL Goku and then, Captain Ginyu, they just get stronger as the fight goes on. So the longer can turn into the better, right? Now, you guys know how these Broly runs go. A lot of it is decided by the AoE phase. This is a scary phase as well. Look at this, right? Like, GT Super Saiyan 2 Goku is capable of tanking in here, not too horribly, but of course, if Broly just decides to drop that hammer, Super Saiyan 2 Goku, we're in big trouble, right? Like, we go down instantly. That Super Saiyan 2 Goku will be able to tank, normals probably, but we're not going to be able to tank super attacks from this guy. The Super Saiyan 2 Goku, though, is capable of being on a rotation where he can eat a super attack from AoE Broly, though, right? Like, I have lived a super attack from Broly before with a rotation of Pan and the AGL Super Saiyan 2 Goku, so we can do that, right? That's one thing about doing these fights is if you have these rotations of, like God Goku and Ginyu and stuff like that, with this team, we have a lot of characters who could survive Broly's AoE. In order to die to Broly's AoE, Kale and Khalifa would have to get caught. Or a Pan, like, being like, if Broly supered in slot 3, right, he would do a lot of damage to Pan. Or if there's a Pan in slot 3 or something like that, that would be how we would get destroyed by Broly's AoE. But for the most part, this team, I have it designed in such a way where we're able to make it past Broly's AoE, at least semi-consistently, right? And then once we get to AGL Broly, we're in a good position, because Pan, there's, like, not a character that could just wipe out Broly faster than, like, Pan. I guess maybe, like, the LR Gods, like, it's like, maybe, like, the same level, but Pan can just, like, actually just wallop Broly instantly. It's so good. So this actually works out really well, right? So we're going to be able to finish Broly off right here, right? We're able to get a lot of stacks in with all of our characters. We're at nearly full health. So what's going to happen is this is going to take us into the next phase against AoE Broly, and we are in prime position to survive AoE Broly, right? Which typically I've found that, like, if you can just eat one turn of his super, like that first turn, usually my no-item runs either Broly doesn't super the first turn, or I have a perfect rotation where we're able to tank it the first turn. AoE Broly does not have as much health as, like AGL Broly and, like, some of the other biggest red zone bosses. So because of that, sometimes we can move through him rather quickly. I believe I do expend I might use one of Pan's active skills to get through. No, I don't think I do. I think we Dokkan attack with Pan next turn, right? Because we went through slow enough that we'll be able to get the Dokkan attack. I remember this. Broly is very kind to us. Broly actually supers here in slot 3. So if this was a Pan rotation, we would have been in big trouble. Pan would have gotten completely demolished. But because this is a rotation with no Pans, and Broly is supering in slot 3, and Raccoon and Goldo were supered, and they got hit first, and then Ginyu's got a couple of super stacks in, and Broly is just not able to do damage to us. Look, Broly does an AoE. Let's look at the damage Broly does in this AoE, right? Like, he does like 75k damage to the team or something. Like, I mean, it helps when like God Goku's double supering and all these characters are, you know, double supering on the turn to get even more defense. But this is how I love handling AoE Broly: 63k, 9,000, and then 49. Right? So then the man didn't even do 7,000, like 75,000 damage right there. I love it. I love it. Okay, so I could have used Pan's active skill here. I think I don't, right? Yeah, because Pan is going to get the Dokkan attack right here, and there's a very good chance she's going to double or triple super. So I don't think we actually need to use her active skill right here to get rid of Broly's health bar. And then saving Pan's active skill for AGL Broly, Pan can have a good turn and completely wipe out Broly in one shot, basically, right? You can get a God RNG turn, and Pan can just completely dunk on AGL Broly. That doesn't happen in this run, but I believe she does take off like half of Broly's health when we get there. So there we go. This team was able to work super well, right? We still have not even transformed into Tech Kefla yet or Goku Ginyu. So at this point, like, we've made it here. You know, all these characters are stacking up, and we still have 2 heals with Ginyu and Kale and Caulifla. So we're looking in a pretty good spot. You guys can see how this ended up being a no-item run. So let me know what you guys think of Dokkan Fest Pan and no-iteming the entire movie Red Zone. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.